Hi, you're listening to NPR's Book of the Day. I'm Alyssa Nadworny. Today is Music Friday. I've got two books for you about bands. In a minute, the story behind Soundgarden and their legacy as a grunge band. It's called A Screaming Life. But first, a book called The Rolling Stones, the biography. It's a deep dive into the lives and music of the iconic group. Here and Now's Indira Lakshmanan spoke with author and musician Bob Spitz.
This message comes from Schwab. At Schwab, you can get everything from self-directed investing to full-service wealth management, all in one place. No matter your investing goal, life stage, amount to invest, or know-how, you can invest your way with Schwab.
This message comes from Bombas. Upgrade your summer staples with soft socks, cushy sandals, and breezy basics. One purchase means one donated, with over 200 million donations and counting. Go to bombas.com/NPR and use code NPR for 20% off your first purchase.
Rolling Stones fans, get excited. I know I am. The band just announced they're releasing a new album. Foreign Tongues drops July 10th. Mark your calendars. And here's a taste of the first single, In the Stars. For more than 6 decades, the Rolling Stones have produced hit after hit. They've sold upwards of 250 million albums since the band formed in 1962. Along with the hits, though, there were drugs and women, so many drugs and so many women, tax evasion, rifts between bandmates, and deaths. The Rolling Stones didn't just cultivate the bad boy rock and roll image, they lived it. Author and musician Bob Spitz has published a comprehensive new biography of the band called The Rolling Stones. He joined us recently to talk about the book. I began by asking Bob Spitz what made the band unique when they first burst onto the Brit rock scene in the early 1960s.
They were a blues band, and they attached jumper cables to the blues, and they created a song that was rock and roll. It was almost like the next generation. There were the Delta blues players. Then there was Chuck Berry, who took blues and electrified it. But the Rolling Stones gave it a rock and roll beat. They actually created a new sound. They are the ultimate rock and roll garage band, and that formula has never changed.
Well, we have to give listeners the treat of hearing one of their earliest hits from 1965. In my humble opinion, maybe the best rock song of all time, I Can't Get No Satisfaction. Let's listen. You talk about how the song is an example of how lead singer Mick Jagger and guitarist and vocalist Keith Richards were a symbiotic writing team. Talk about how this song came about.
Well, Keith was asleep, and he left his tape recorder running all night. And I guess at some point in the night, he woke up. He had this idea in his head, 3 chords. He said into the mic, "I can't get no satisfaction," and he went back to sleep. And for the next 35 minutes on that tape was just Keith snoring. And so when he got up in the morning, he had to go back in the tape and look what he had, and he realized that he had a gem. And not only a gem, as far as I care, it's the national anthem.
Well, over the years, there were difficulties between Mick and Keith, who were definitely the foundation, the, beating heart at the center of this band. Explain to us the sort of complex nature of their relationship.
Mick and Keith, they have just a unique situation. Even when they were not speaking to each other, when Keith was slagging Mick off in the press, calling him Her Majesty, and he used to call him Brenda Jagger. When Keith got married on his 40th birthday, who stood up for him, his best man? It was Mick, even though they weren't talking. They have a commitment, and that commitment has kept the Stones together for 60 years.
Let's hear another one of their early hits from 1968, Sympathy for the Devil.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. I've been around for a long, long year. Stole many a man's soul and faith. I was around when Jesus Christ had his moment of doubt and pain. Made damn sure the Pilate washed his hands and sealed his face. Pleased to meet you. Hope you guessed my name. But what's puzzling you is the nature of my game.
When you see it performed on stage, I've been lucky enough to see them 3 times. There's literally like fire on the stage, and Mick comes out with a cape, and it's just an incredible performance. But I was surprised to learn from your book that this song was actually inspired by a novel by a Stalin-era Soviet dissident writer named Mikhail Bulgakov. It's based on his book, The Master and Margarita. Tell us more about that.
Well, Mick had been dating Marianne Faithfull during this time, and she was reading The Master and Margarita and gave it to Mick one night and said, you ought to think about this. And it caught fire with him right away. When you listen to that song, it's so different from anything the Stones had done, and I think it caught listeners by surprise. It certainly created flames. When the Stones were recording it, the studio caught fire and burned to the ground. So, this song had some legacy behind it.
Well, it also plays into their image of the band as creators of chaos. And often that was good chaos, but sometimes it would go off the rails. And I want to listen to another song, Gimme Shelter. So the backing vocals that we're hearing there are by an astonishing blues singer, gospel singer named Mary Clayton, who the Stones actually didn't know when she laid down the tracks for this song. Tell us how she came into their orbit at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then there's a harrowing aftermath to the story.
Yeah, they had been working with Bonnie Bramlett, who was a rock and roller, and she wasn't cutting it. And somebody knew Mary Clayton, called her at 2 in the morning. Her hair was in curlers. She was pregnant. They put her in a cab. They brought her into the studio, and she cut that lacerating vocal in 2 takes. Unfortunately, she went home that night she had let it all come out on that song, and she suffered a miscarriage the next day.
Now, Gimme Shelter was also the name of a 1970 documentary about the Stones' free concert that they gave at the Altamont Speedway in California in December 1969. The Stones had asked the Hells Angels bikers gang to handle security, and the consequences were disastrous, including the death of a fan. I think many of the Stones' younger fans will not even have heard of this or know about what happened at Altamont. Can you remind us how it all played out?
Yeah, the Stones were coerced by the press into giving a free concert. It was terrible. They put the whole thing together in 2 days. The stage was practically on the ground. The drugs were intense. And the Hells Angels created a nature of, violence. It was violence from the word go. It was an unfortunate situation, and it really dealt the Stones' reputation a severe blow.
Another aspect of the Stones that has dogged them over the years is how the perception of the band changed with the rise of the women's movement in the 1970s. There were many songs like 1966's Under My Thumb that came under increased scrutiny. A lot of people just felt they were misogynistic.
Under my thumb, a girl who has just changed her ways. It's down to me. Yes, it is the way she does just what she's told down to me. The change has come. She's under my thumb.
Talk about whether they were meant as misogynistic, whether they were meant as ironic, and how did the band address this criticism?
They weren't ironic at all. They were misogynistic from the word go. The Stones always had that problem. They are the consummate bad boys. They have their shtick, and they just feel that they're going to sing what they're going to sing. It's hard to reconcile, but if you're a Stones fan, you kind of have to take it as it goes.
Let's just finally end by talking about their longevity. Throughout the years, the band continues to sell out shows, play arenas. They were touring as recently as 2024. Mick Jagger and Keith Richards are in their 80s. What is your explanation for their appeal and their longevity over the years?
Well, it all comes down to those songs. Those songs are magnificent. They're the songs that for 50 years have defined rock and roll. And when you go to a Stones concert, it's all the hits, all the time. Mick and Keith, the original bad boys, even though they've been collecting Social Security for the last 20 years, they still are able to pull off that excitement.
But it's all
Bob Spitz is the author of the new book, The Rolling Stones, the biography. Bob, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thanks, Indira.
This message comes from Schwab. At Schwab, you can get everything from self-directed investing to full-service wealth management, all in one place. No matter your investing goal, life stage, amount to invest, or know-how, you can invest your way with Schwab. This message comes from Bombas. Your feet hit the ground an average of 2,000 times in a mile. Bombas sports socks are designed to support you every step. Sprint to bombas.com/NPR and use code NPR for 20% off your first purchase.
Okay, now on to some grunge music. Committed to the pages in a new memoir called A Screaming Life. It's by Soundgarden's lead guitarist Kim Thayil, and it's focused on how the band rose to the top and brought grunge music into the mainstream. Thayil talked with NPR's A. Martínez for Morning Edition.
Before the 1990s, record labels almost never scouted the Seattle area. In isolation, a local scene developed. The music was dark, it was loud, and for a short while, it changed rock music. The band that opened doors for everybody in the grunge scene was Soundgarden. They were the first to sign to a major label, and their story is told in a new memoir by founding guitarist Kim Thayil. From their indie beginnings to their peak with Black Hole Sun to the death of lead singer Chris Cornell. The book is called A Screaming Life. And one note before we go on, the subject of suicide does come up later in the conversation. Thayil writes about that 6-week period in 1991 when 3 of the pillars of grunge were released. Pearl Jam's album 10, Nirvana's Nevermind, and Soundgarden's Bad Motorfinger.
We didn't have that initial commercial success. I mean, there's a meteoric ascension for Nirvana that overshadowed everything else, which was just fine because it must have been very stressful to have to understand the change in your status. And for us, we grew very slowly off the success of that record. And I'm sure we benefited to some degree from Nirvana's success and then Pearl Jam's success. So we were able to just hang in there under the radar and maintain our career ascension in a much more manageable way.
Soundgarden's biggest hit, Black Hole Sun. I mean, I think most people will agree with that. You write that you didn't like the song at first and you almost killed it. Why? What didn't you like about the song?
I recognized the song as a good song, and I liked it as a creation of Chris. I didn't recognize it as a Soundgarden song. Does that make sense? It's like, I love songs by Johnny Cash, and I love songs by Sly and the Family Stone, and if I heard them, I might not say, let's learn that and record it. You know, it may not fit into, the Super Unknown album, which is where we did Black Hole Sun. I didn't see it as a viable contender for that album initially.
Black hole sun, won't you come? Wash away the rain. Black hole sun, won't you come? Won't you come? Won't you come?
In 1997, Kim, Soundgarden broke up. Band, though, did get back together. New album in 2012, King Animal. 5 years later, though, Chris Cornell took his life. In the book you write, I didn't see it coming. The thing that hurts me the most is to be a close friend, a colleague, and not to have read things that perhaps in retrospect I should have read. Do you think things were clear enough for you to have read them?
I don't know. That's one of the things that is hard to understand. I don't know what to have looked for. In retrospect, there are things that can be identified or seen, but those may not be as obvious or present. I think there is that fraternal sense of responsibility towards your friendships and duty towards each other, in terms of managing and maintaining that. And so, of course, if something goes wrong or someone's in pain or is hurting, you feel that's your responsibility to address it and help them. And sometimes, at least in this case, whatever was happening with Chris was not on our radar, or it was something that we missed. And that's not just myself. I mean, none of our bandmates or our crew, friends or family were really aware in any way to expect this kind of outcome.
And then I just think about, a lot of the other people involved in the Seattle rock scene. I mean, Kurt Cobain, Andrew Wood, Ben McMillan. I mean, all died pretty young. I mean, how do you keep your head straight when you see your colleagues? Maybe in some cases, I'm sure close people, friends of yours that that this happens to.
We often talk about this. My colleagues and friends. It's very unusual. I mean, you can add Mark Lanigan and Lane Staley to that list, but I mean,
Stephanie Sargent.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are kind of hard to wrap your head around because it seems very strange.
Yeah, this guy that I used to argue with about this would say that listen to the music, listen to the lyrics. You can't get out of this cycle of depression when you listen to all these grunge acts. And I'd be like, okay. I mean, we'd argue about this and go back and forth. But
I agree. There's somewhat of a paper trail, but suicide isn't the only assailant here. I mean, there's also substance abuse. There's misadventure. But I think you're correct in pointing out the fact that there is a bit of a paper trail. We're not writing songs about parties and cool cars.
Now, you're working on one last Soundgarden album with Chris Cornell's voice. What can you tell us about that?
We're in the process of writing for an album, and we're in the process of recording material for the album when Chris passed. Chris was demoing vocals for these songs to share, melodic and lyrical ideas. So we had a lot of things to work with. We didn't have a complete set, and it required that the surviving members of the band all complete their work. We're very proud, and it's easily the most evocative emotionally of anything we've ever done. And at the same time, we're very proud and very satisfied with what we're doing.
Well, we'll look forward to it when it comes out. That's Kim Thayil, guitarist with Soundgarden. His new memoir is called A Screaming Life. Kim, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
If you or someone you know is in crisis, call or text the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988.
That's it for this week on NPR's Book of the Day. Let us know what you think. You can write to us at bookoftheday@npr.org. I'm Alyssa Nadworny. The podcast is produced by Chloe Weiner and Ivy Buck and edited by Megan Sullivan. Our founding editor is Petra Mayer. The show elements for this week were produced and edited by Erica Ryan, Christopher Intagliata, Adriana Gallardo, Lily Quiroz, Diana Douglas, Danica Panetta, Ashley Brown, Diantha Parker, Catherine Fink, Emiko Tamagawa, Todd Munt, and Phil Harrell. Thanks for listening.
This message comes from Schwab. At Schwab, you can get everything from self-directed investing to full-service wealth management, all in one place. No matter your investing goal, life stage, amount to invest, or know-how, you can invest your way with Schwab. This message comes from Mint Mobile. If you're tired of spending hundreds on big wireless bills, bogus fees, and free perks, Mint Mobile might be right for you with plans starting from $15 a month. Shop plans today at mintmobile.com/switch. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month 5 GB plan required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
This message comes from Grainger. For the ones who get it done, Grainger offers the professional-grade products you need to get the job done. With fast delivery and access to technical product experts ready to help you meet any challenge. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by.